Okay, Bobby, we
Here we
are
are.
here with, I guess it's chat number 5,
Yes, it is. We're Mama B and Papa B.
and we've been talking each time about the fact that we are in a pioneering kind of era, that
Mhm.
every one of us, no matter who you are, has never experienced a pandemic like this and all that's going on with the civil unrest and all of the things that are happening in our society and getting ready for an election, all those things.
And we, like many of you, have been mostly at home since I think March and have learned a lot of new things about experiencing pioneer behavior that brings us closer together. And that's what we would like to talk to you about today. Understanding each other better by practicing loving behaviors.
Yes, I think about the fact when I perform a wedding, I think of our son-in-law, I mean our grandson and his new bride. They entered marriage. They've had a wonderful engagement period and felt it was terrific. But when they became husband and wife, they went through a door, and that door was really the entrance into marriage. And they probably have felt at that time no one could know any more about loving behavior than what we know now. But I want to say that after almost 64 years of marriage, we have learned a lot about loving behavior and we're still learning it. We're still growing. So pioneering is an ongoing thing. We go through life as pioneers, which is just different from what we visualize on the stagecoach era of pioneering. But this is a pioneer time.
Well, let's talk about those loving behaviors.
I'm for
All of them are simple,
Yes.
all of them are easy to do, and all of them pay big dividends.
Yes.
And I'd like to introduce them by quoting on Juneteenth today, maybe a national holiday sometime.
Which we hope it will.
Yes.
It's worthwhile.
I'd like to begin by quoting Frederick Douglass. And in fact, I'm going to paraphrase Frederick Douglass, who literally said, "It's easier to build strong families than to repair broken ones."
That's true.
And I'd like to paraphrase that to say, it's easier to build strong marriages than it is to repair broken ones.
And the fact is that we build strong families through
Strong marriages.
strong marriages.
That has certainly been proved by research and by our own experience.
That is really true.
But building strong families, starting with strong couples, is not hard to do. You're not aiming at perfection, you're aiming at persistence. Little things that you can do that pay off in the long run. Well, let's start on those. We're going to do 5 of them. The first one,
We're doing 5.
5 loving behaviors
So
that
we're
are,
doing your list and not my list?
yeah, well, we're doing a list.
Okay.
I'm not sure which,
Right.
which is which.
I just wanted to be sure we were thinking.
The first one is lean in. That's
Does that mean
That's
lean
it.
your way?
Well, that's a description that was coined by Dr. John Gottman, a famous marriage counselor. But by lean in, he simply meant be responsive to your partner. If your
Yes.
partner says something, asks something, points out something, even if you're busy, acknowledge it.
And I want to thank you for leaning in with me recently. I was back in our laundry room looking out at our flowers at the back end of our back lawn, and I was talking to you about the fact that the crepe myrtle were really in bloom back there. And you came over to where I was, looked out the same window, and commented on it. And I'm so appreciative of that.
So leaning in, turn that off. Leaning in is a simple thing to do, but it pays big dividends just to be responsive to what your partner says, asks, does. In fact, Dr. Gottman, who does lots and lots of research on things like this, categorizes couples and shows how many more of them end up being happy, not just staying together, but actually being happy in staying together. How many more couples will be happy who simply lean in?
Yes.
A second loving behavior is to develop a strategy for handling disagreements. Every couple is going to have disagreements. And during this pioneer endemic time, no doubt many of us have experienced daily disagreements over something.
Yes, and we didn't have a good way to do that when we first got married. I mean, we really were pioneers in our relationship. And over time, once we got involved in marriage enrichment, we realized we needed an anger agreement, something that whenever we did get angry, recognizing that no one makes me angry, I choose to let that person get me sad and angry. And I think that's really an important thing, that we take responsibility for our anger. It belongs to us. It is our anger.
Yes. But the thing that was helpful to me about this particular issue is finding a way that we both agreed on, a kind of strategy, some rules, if you want to say it that way, about how we're going to argue.
Boundaries.
Guidelines sounds a little nicer than rules, but it's a way to keep it safe. It's a way to acknowledge both people. It's a way to hear both voices in the disagreement, and that's important. Designing a strategy when you're not angry, but knowing sometime you are going to be angry or at least annoyed, is a simple, but in the long run, a loving behavior. More couples split up over disagreements that never get resolved, that never get even acknowledged than any other subject.
Right. And many times they were minor disagreements, but they didn't know how to handle them. And they let them grow, and they stacked on, as we've said before.
So on the one hand, it sounds odd to say getting a strategy for handling disagreements is a loving behavior, but it's simple to do, not so simple to practice. But if you do it, it has big dividends in loving and in enjoying and in understanding each other, and that spills over into the family.
Yes. I remember doing premarital counseling, and I said to this couple, next time you come, I'd like for you to bring a conflict. And the man said, I already know what that will be. And so I said, okay, bring it with you. And he laughed. But then we spent time with that on how they could work through that conflict. And it was surprising how it worked out, because they found some ways to talk about it, and it was beneficial. So that's really a very important point. If you can get that done, you're going to have conflicts and disagreements. So that's important too, Bobby.
Well, a third, simple but effective loving behavior, and one during this troubled time that's often overlooked, is simply to have fun.
Yes.
It's easy to fill your days with getting things done, with accomplishments, with worry. It's hard to keep the anxiety that comes to all of us at a low level, but it's almost impossible if we don't have fun together really often.
Well, and not only that, PrEP, which is a research program that's excellent for couples, found that couples, that's what they said. They did a phone interview going to random numbers on the telephone book in Denver and asked them what keeps you together. And they said, we like to be together. We like to have fun together. And so fun became one of the first things that they have in the programs that they present is how to have fun.
Because they were shocked. They thought that people who took the trouble to answer about why are you two still together would say, oh, we have excellent communication, or we have sensational sex, or
which they may have.
We have no money problems. But instead, it was, we like each other, we're good friends, we enjoy doing things together.
Right. And that's really, isn't that what we did when we dated? We had fun. We always wanted to do something fun. And then we get married and get serious.
Yes.
And then we get children and get more serious.
Yes, that's certainly
and
true.
Then we have a hard job, and fun is what we push out the window.
So if you like to play games, not just video games done by one, but
games together.
Board games, card games, dominoes.
Go on hikes, yes.
Work jigsaw puzzles together.
Yes, we love to go to museums, and we have this rule, I guess you'd call it, that we choose a painting while we go through. And when we get through, we decide that if we both like the same painting as the number one painting, they'll give it to us. Of course, they don't.
And as Britton said, we've been to many museums over many years, and only in all that time have we agreed one time on the same painting.
So therefore, we haven't gotten any, but they weren't going to give them to us anyway.
Well, having fun is simple, but it's one of those loving behaviors that lightens the day and lightens the heart.
The other thing that I would like to add is, not on that, but it would fit into fun, is the fact that you come to marriage with a strong me and a strong you. And what needs to develop in the relationship is the relationship, the us, the in between the two of us. So if we have a full schedule as an adult single, we still have that when we get married. And so you have two strong individuals. What we need is that the interchange, the couple. And so you have three votes in the relationship, one for Bobby, one for me, and one for us. And if I win and Bobby loses, the relationship loses. So what we need is a win-win-win situation.
Yes, a win for me, a win for you, and a win for the relationship.
Right.
And loving behaviors is one way to accomplish that win-win-win vote, because the relationship will vote. It will make clear whether it's going well or not going well.
And that's like simple courtesy, thanking each other, and being grateful, all of those things. If we're busy feeling good about the relationship, we're not going to be criticizing.
Well, a fourth loving behavior that we have talked about before, but I'll just mention briefly because it's so important to couple health and couple growth, is to carve out some time every day to be with each other and talk.
Yes. About the relationship.
Some therapists recommend 15 minutes of doing that. That sounds like a reasonable time, especially if you're just starting. And what you talk about is just each other, memories, how you're doing, what you both like, what some of your concerns are. You don't try to solve problems during that time. You simply make some time for each other by talking about some things that are on your heart. Keep it short, keep it simple. but it's a loving behavior that really pays off in understanding and growth.
And if you haven't done that, one idea is to use our Marriage for the Everyday book, because it has 365 conversation starters. We have been through it twice, and we found them very interesting, even though we had put them together. And it is one way to, and by the way, at the end of each page is a question that you talk about as a couple. So
that's a one we have recommended several times, but we want to put it in as a loving behavior that has big payoffs for family growth.
And it's available at Amazon. By the way, next chat is going to be, we're talking about FOIE. Now, FOIE is spelled FOOIE, which stands for, what is it, Bobby?
It's an acrostic for Families of Origin Impact Everything.
So we're going to talk about what we bring to the relationship and what lingers in the relationship that makes conflict happen a whole lot more than we realize. Yes. Anyway, today
will be very interesting because all of us are sometimes surprised and sometimes shocked by the number of times that we realize we're saying something, we are doing something, we are thinking something that came from the homes we grew up in. And so we're just going to drive that car no matter what, because that's what our dad said was the best car to drive.
Let's talk about it next week.
Okay. All right.
It's a good topic, and we get into it in a hurry.
And remember, on this important day, Frederick Douglass's idea that, paraphrasing him, it's easier to build strong marriages than to repair broken ones. Here's 5 simple but effective loving behaviors that can make a difference.
And we thank you for being with us today.
It's Mama B and Papa B saying goodbye till next Friday.